great deal of years. So I'll just turn it over to you, Chris, and you might recollect that Sig Schober, the deputy director in the back.
Good afternoon. We're going to show a bunch of slides to get you organizationally oriented. But I don't intend to spend more than about 20-30 minutes on that, and then I prefer you ask me questions after that, and we can find out where that might take us, like what the future of NASA is, what our budget problems are, and when you're going to fly, etc. So with that, can I have the first slide? You're going to have to, the organization of NASA is primarily in 5 associate administrators. We work primarily with the associate administrator for space transportation systems and the associate administrator for space and terrestrial applications. Some of our work in lunar sciences and so forth is done under the associate administrator for space sciences, and our life science work is also done here. Budget-wise, that's probably amounts to maybe $50 million a year. So compared to the rest of our budget, it's relatively small, but it is, the work we do there is important to NASA and important to us. The associate administrator, this is, should have given you some names here. This is John Yardley, this is Tony Callio, and this is Noel Henners. Jim Kramer runs the Aeronautics and Space Technology Organization. We hope to do more work with these people since space technology will probably be more important to us over the next few years than it has been because of the decreasing effort in the budgetary aspects of the Space Shuttle program. And then finally, the Office of Associate Administrator for Space Tracking and Data Systems, and that's Bill Schneider, and that's where all of the worldwide tracking for both deep space work and near-in space work and the tracking and data relay satellite system known as TDRSS is run under that program. That's an interesting program in itself. I don't know a great deal about the financial aspects of it, but it's one where NASA has contracted almost on a fixed price with a contractor and let them borrow the money. It's about how much, Sig? About $600 to $800 million worth of, if you ever get it fixed so it'll work, it'll be about $800 million. And it's a very unusual contract and one which makes contractual arrangements difficult because it is that kind of contract. And if you want to learn more about that, you'll have to get somebody else to tell you about it because I'm not familiar with that kind of contracting within NASA. Then there's the normal staff functions under Dr. Frosch and Dr. Lovelace being the administrator and deputy administrator. You heard from the general counsel when you were here before, got along famously with him. Mr. Lilly is the comptroller, and that's just like any other organization. He runs the finances and the money for the organization. Has been with NASA quite some time now and is a very capable man. Hope we don't lose him because he has been very important to our budget activities with the Office of Management and Budget. And then we have the Associate Administrator for Management Operations, and that's really the institutional civil service matters that are important to the agency. And then public relations as well as foreign affairs is handled under what we call Associate Administrator for External Relations. And right now, this is Ray Klein, and this is Mr. Frutkin acting. I don't think we have a new man there. The man that was in that job just resigned, fortunately. Then the other normal staff functions that you will see, which are not too different even than what we have at the Johnson Space Center. Those are the locations of the NASA centers, if you're not familiar with them. The Ames Research Center and Jet Propulsion Laboratory and the Dryden Flight Research Center located in California. We have part of our Johnson Space Center at Las Cruces, New Mexico, where we do testing on small engines such as the orbital maneuvering engine and the reaction control system engines. The Slidell facility, which is a computer complex, which really is a part of what we call NSTL, the National Space Technology Laboratories, located in Mississippi. And then that used to be a part of Johnson Space Center, but is not anymore. That is part of it was. We had an Earth Resources organization that's still functioning, but is a part of that group now. It does very good work, however, and although it's small, it is important to the Earth Resources activity in dealing with the states and so forth in the United States. The place where the tanks are being built today is at Michoud in New Orleans, under a contract to the Martin Company. The Marshall Space Flight Center is in Huntsville, Alabama. Kennedy is at Cape Canaveral, not Cape Kennedy. Langley Research Center, which is sort of the mother center of NASA, where NASA was the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics and started in 1915. And those old heads of us who are still in the agency grew up there. It's also famous for a town named Phoebus, right there. The Wallops Flight Station is out on the eastern shore of Virginia. It was originally a rocket flight test center back in my day when we tested, when there were only two ways of getting transonic data, on the wing of an airplane or on the end of a rocket. And Bob Gilruth, who was the previous director of this center, started that. This is the Johnson Space Center, where we are located. It's probably the best looking government facility in the United States. If you've been to many, you realize that. We had the great fortune of being able to build it at all at once. We built it for about $40 a square foot, and you can't build a house in Texas for that right now. And I guess you've already found that out. I don't know whether it's worthwhile. I guess I'll say that we have an anechoic chamber for testing antennas. We have a space environment simulation laboratory where we can simulate the vacuum of the space, the heat and the cold of space. It's probably one of the most unique facilities in the world. I doubt there is any facility that's as good as that one for those kinds of environments in the world. We have a vibration acoustic facility behind it in this area. We have a small thermochemical test area for testing fuel cells and small rocket engines. A number of management facilities. The engineering and development organizations are located with a number of their laboratories, including the Shuttle Avionics Integration Laboratory that you'll become a lot more familiar with as time goes on for checking out the overall avionics and software of the orbiter. The Mission Control Center where you've been, our shop area, and then the crew systems area and some vacuum chambers for testing the performance of the spacesuit, some of which you've also had some rather bad experience, haven't you, Judy? I hope we can do something about that so that all of you don't get as badly beat up as Judy did when she had to get in and out of it. I don't think she ever had any worry about getting out of it, but I understand some of the astronauts have after they got in it. It's a metal upper torso, which if you can't get out, you have to get out with a welding torch, so they tell me. So it'd be kind of warm in there. The Lunar Receiving Laboratory was this building here during the time of Apollo, where we tried to maintain a new curatorial facility. And the main reason I mention that is because I want to make sure that you realize that we got the Golden Fleece Award for that facility, and I wouldn't want to pass that over. This was a centrifuge that we built initially for both manned testing, women testing, and for purposes of testing equipment, and we no longer had a need for that. We gave that up about 3 years ago in the budget crunch, but that is where the water immersion facility will be built that you will get a lot of zero-G training in. And a number of other management facilities, which will become a dollar point of view as well as a manpower point of view, and they are correct. But in the way in which we do business, it's been better for us overall to maintain the matrix type organization. I think in the future, as we change in character, which I think we will, then it's questionable whether that kind of organization will remain, but at least as long as I'm here, it will be, so, because I like it, and if I'm here, that's the way it'll be run, because I just think it's the best way to have communications among an organization and so forth. You fracture the organization into smaller parts, and I think you very rapidly lose communications, and so I think that's what you pay for the overhead of having a matrix type organization. We do have, in my opinion, superb communications at the Johnson Space Center. I think everybody knows what everybody else is doing. I think everybody knows the problems that we have, and that's what you want. You want everybody to recognize that we got dollar problems and people problems when we have them. You want, besides the technical problems. And so I think that the communications is a direct result of the kind of organization we have. We are broken into as a what I would say the core program for the future of NASA. Now that thought is not held as a consensus opinion within NASA, but I think it will be. I think eventually this agency will come to that conclusion, because it just got to be the right way for the agency to go, or what's troubling you, or what's on your mind generally, and I think that might get us into some better things to talk about. Yes, sir.
So could you elaborate on the budget constraints that you talked about this morning for the next couple of years?
I don't know where to jump into that. I'll jump in by saying we're $200 million short in FY79 for building a space shuttle. 200 million out of about 1.4 billion. We really aren't that short in overall funds, but the way in which the money is compartmentized, that is, a certain amount is in DD&E development. What is that? We use that term. Yes. Introduce me